Hello and welcome to another World of Warplanes video with me, Sir 10 Death. Recently I have been reviewing some low tier fighters from the tech tree, and a couple of days ago I did a review of the Kawasaki Ki-10 Japanese tier 2 fighter, and I was asked by somebody on Reddit if I could do the Ki-43-1 Hayabusa, which is tier 4. So I'm going to do that in the next few days, but in between I'm going to have a look at this one, the tier 3 one, which is the Ki-27, the Nakajima Ki-27. And as ever, I'll be showing you some gameplay footage and discussing what this plane does well, what it doesn't do so well, and so on and so forth. It is worth noting that I just unlocked this plane after playing the Ki-10, so it is essentially a stock plane, and it can be pimped out to be a bit better than it actually is right now on paper. So anyway, let's have a chat about the plane as we watch the footage. One thing worth noting about Japanese fighters, they're a bit notorious for a couple of things. They tend to be notorious for being highly manoeuvrable and with decent armament, but at the cost of having paper thin, bordering on no armour. They are very susceptible to damage, and you're going to see in this replay examples of just that. Now I'll be totally honest with you and tell you right now that in the early part of this game I almost thought to myself, this plane is either very unlucky or it's just so bad that it's not really worth trying. But I'd never judge a plane on what happens early on, and just stick with the video and see how it pans out. So as normal, I'm just getting myself straight off towards the first sector, and straight away I've got some anti-aircraft fire coming in here. I'm just testing out the manoeuvrability of the plane, trying to shift from side to side a little bit. Now it's quite normal to receive incoming anti-aircraft fire. What's not so normal is when you've got a Japanese plane, those explosions that happen beside you really do hurt. They start to do lots of damage. And I've also got an enemy on my tail early on as well. So I'm just trying to work out what this plane does well. Maneuverability wise, it's typical Japanese. It's having no problem at all staying right on the back end of this guy here and taking him out of the game. So that's not a problem at all. But at the cost of half of my hit points, they've gone already. Now that's a combination of the anti-aircraft guns and having somebody who was chasing me a little bit earlier on. So I'm just trying to do some damage on this guy while climbing here, test out the stall speeds, and there's more anti-aircraft damage going on around me. My health is suffering badly. The wing is now damaged. I'm nearly out of there. I'm nearly at the end of my... That's it. That's first sortie over, a little over a minute into the game, and I haven't done very much. And I was just at this point thinking, wow, even by Japanese standards, this plane really is going to suffer. But, you know, you don't judge things early on, you keep going, you keep trying it out. Just while we're getting back into the game, let's talk a bit about what the plane has then. It has 100 hit points, which in tier 3 is fairly standard, give or take 10 or 20, it's fairly normal. On paper its manoeuvrability rating is 95, which is stunningly high. This is typical Japanese fighter. It is turn on a sixpence. Its turning circle, 360 degrees turning circle, is 8 seconds. That is such a low time, and means that pretty much there's not much in the game that can outmaneuver these kind of planes. So if you can get on the tail of somebody, you can make them pay. You really can. That is, however, if you can get the guns to behave, because the guns are, on the stock plane anyway, a little bit lackluster. You can see they're working okay here, they're not doing too badly, but these are a pair of two 7.7mm cannons, guns, machine guns that are on here, and they're okay, but they're not great. When upgraded, this can carry a pair of 12.7mm, which therefore will be, you know, notably more damaging, but of course they'll overheat faster as well, so it's a little bit of a trade-off there. So I've now done a little bit of damage and starting to get a feel for the aircraft. Things are going quite well. Speed-wise, you'll see when boosting there, it'll go up to the mid-300s, but in a straight line when I'm not boosting, it's you know, low 300s. So it's not terribly slow, but not terribly fast either. It's okay. It's mediocre. Once again, I've taken some damage. Aircraft's on fire. I'm actually burning here. I haven't fitted out any consumables on these, largely because they're low tier, and I don't want to waste the credits on a plane that's not going to make that much. So that's end of second sortie. Once again, I'm thinking, well, I did okay, a little bit better there, but it's not so great. Let's see if I can really have a good game in this. So let's go back in the game when we respawn quite soon and see how we do. Suggested altitude to be playing this at is about 600 meters, which is fairly normal for Jap fighters. They are very much turn and burn low-level fighters, getting in amongst it, mixing it up with other planes, out-turning them, and yeah, doing what you can. So let's see if we can do a bit better in this, because I've done okay so far. It's not as though I've done terribly bad. I am on almost 2,000 combat points, but if I'm honest, I don't think I've played particularly well. Made a couple of errors of judgment, and also had a little bit of bad luck. It is worth noting that whilst I'd never claim to be the best player in the world, I am testing this plane out, so I am doing some things deliberately and a little bit of a risky way. I probably wouldn't sit in the front of anti-aircraft guns as much as I did earlier on, except for the fact that I'm just trying it out, seeing how it does, what it can and can't do so well. So we're just getting back into the gameplay now and catching up with some people starting to go to work on this fighter here. And that's somebody taking out the game there. Now you see just how easy it is to shift between targets. As soon as I've barely finished making that last frag, and already I can just turn straight around, get in behind this guy here and go to work on him. Now the damage, you see, it's racking up and it's taking a bit of time, but the guns will work. They just take a little bit of effort to get them to pay off. I do have to say I do love the maneuverability of these planes, and if they continue like this as they go down the KI line, because there are two lines of Japanese fighters. There's the A6M series and there's the KI line, and these ones are by definition the more maneuverable ones apparently, but I've gone as far as the A6M10 down the other line, so I'll be near of tier 4 with this line pretty soon. Well, to be honest, within a game or two, once I play this a little bit more. But I have to love the fact that I can just swap between targets. So if I don't actually manage to finish somebody off, I don't get the kill, I can manage to do a bit of damage and then just switch to somebody else. If I can't drop in behind somebody, there we go, as an example of missing one person, just drop in behind somebody else, take the pick. The biggest concern here is you could end up easily ramming somebody else while you're trying to get in or out of combat. A little bit past the 3,000 combat points mark now, and I still wouldn't say this has been a particularly great game so far. Broadly average. I don't think I'm doing well, I don't think I'm doing badly, I'm just plodding along there. Game-wise, it's very even. I think our team is just ever so slightly ahead, but there's not much in it. This could easily swing one way or the other, and I would like to think I can have a bit more influence in this game. Because in the world of Warplanes, as a rule, you still get quite a few bots involved. It very much comes down to the human players to take the initiative and to try and do as much as they can. So there's 3,500 combat points achieved, and managing now to get this plane to work, I am loving the way it can just switch around from target to target. I did review some other tier 3s a couple of weeks ago. I did the British Bristol 133, and I was talking about how that was a nice little fighter to play, and I have to say this is probably just as nice to play now that I'm getting a feel for it. This guy's really trying to work hard to dodge out of the way, and being honest, he just can't. No matter how hard he tries, he can't outmaneuver this aircraft. It's just shy of 5,000 combat points now, and still switching targets. Squall line's going to come down quite soon, and it's still a pretty even game though. Now, so I don't know how I've done. I haven't checked the stats for a little while. I'm just having a look and see. There's my grade 3 fighter award, which is always quite nice to get, and just got 50% superiority. So hopefully we're ahead now. 6,000 combat points have been passed now. So now I do feel now as though, ignoring those first couple of sorties, which were a little bit well, less said about them the better. I've now got this plane to start working for me. I've got this to going very, very well, and I have to say, based upon just this alone, there's the grade 2 fighter. I have to say this would be a plane I could be tempted to keep in the hangar, even when I move beyond it, because it just seems like so much fun to play. Of course I can say that about a lot of planes. In low tier there's quite a lot of fun aircraft to play. That guy there was trying to get me out of the game, which could be deliberate, I don't know. Sometimes you do get people who are checking the stats and they very much look for targets they want out of the game. The score line's down now, so if you're out of the game, you're out for good, so it's probably worth... What I'm trying to do now is do just that. Because the game is still... We are now ahead on points, but because the game's still fairly even, the way of pretty much closing up shop is to try and just get rid of any aircraft left on the other side. Once they're all dead, it's an automatic win. So let's just try and see if we can turn back around and get in behind this attack aircraft, which we can very, very easily. Go back to work on him. He's out of there. Just under the 8,000 combat points mark now. And just look how quickly this can turn and drop in behind somebody else. He's barely a second past me, and I'm on his tail. And he's trying to get away, and he's just not going to. Good night. Yeah, the game's winding to a close now, and as ever, I want as much from this as I possibly can get. I want kills, I want marks on my plane, I want to do well. And there's the grade 1 fighter. Now that's always very satisfying when you get a grade 1 fighter, because it takes quite a little bit of effort to do that, and it's quite a nice thing to see. And with the last target, has just popped up there, so there is not much left to do in this game now. Oh, got a little bit close to the ground there. Pull back up, but it's okay. This has got the maneuverability to do so. So, how do we do on the whole? Well, 10,615 is pretty good. Flying Star's fairly standard to get, so is Hat-Trick. These are normal awards to get. Supporting Fire is fairly standard. Hunt for Hawk's fairly standard. Getting a first class Grade 1 fighter award is very nice, and finishing first overall, even in spite of my dodgy start to the game. In terms of cash, I mean, 61,000 in a non-premium tier 3 plane is very impressive. I don't like to blow my own trumpet. I don't ever claim to be the best person on the planet. In this game there are a lot of better players than me out there, but I'm happy with that, happy with this performance, and very pleased. I would certainly recommend, based upon what I've seen so far, the KI line of the Japanese fighters. They're fun, they're a bit of a giggle to play, and you'll probably have great times doing so. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will keep them coming. Please do share and subscribe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.